That was a moment in time when the GOP base actually saw the FBI and CIA as evil. But it was just because they targeted their cult leader in Donald Trump, wiretapped his offices, waged Operation Crossfire Hurricane to target him as a Russian collaborator. And now Dan Bongino's deputy director to serve as Cash's hype man. So the FBI is good again. They don't believe in anything. It's just pure partisanship, just like the Democrats who opposed the war state under Iraq because it was Bush's war and turned around and campaigned with Liz Cheney and adopted the neocons under Donald Trump. This is a political system that is devoid of any principles at all. And the J6 rioters, many of them had their civil liberties abused, but the Trump base wouldn't even acknowledge that they carried out a riot at all. And then they want people who are peaceful protesters simply for wearing keffiyehs in public. They want them to be jailed. They believe in literally nothing. They're the biggest bootlickers. They're the biggest frauds. And it reminds me so much now of the post 9/11 era with a Republican president in office with, he doesn't have the same approval ratings that George W. Bush had, but he's trying to impose a state of emergency. And he has a completely stable base of bootlickers who support him, suspending the Constitution to attack domestic enemies, just as Bush did with Muslim civil society leaders, because he needed some, he needed some big terror busts after 9/11. They couldn't find the terror cells, so they just found like Muslims who talk too much about Palestine or sent aid to Gaza. It's the same. I mean, it just feels like history repeating itself. The one difference is Bush had what Paul Wolfowitz called a few weeks before 9/11, the catastrophic and catalyzing event that was needed to consolidate the national security state's control over domestic policy and go to war across the Middle East. That was an eerie speech that Paul Wolfowitz gave, I think, to West Point graduates just a few weeks before 9/11. There is no catastrophic and catalyzing event. Not enough Americans see Venezuelan migrants as an invading army or Palestine solidarity protesters as the presence of Hamas in the United States. But, we know what this country's national security state is capable of. Look at the JFK files to just see how the sausage is made. Hey, they could possibly come up with a catastrophic and catalyzing event. And then Trump will have all he needs to complete the agenda. So I think we're in a really disturbing time, not for the reasons that liberals believe. And it reminds me a lot of the post 9/11 era. I mean, and Trump also promised to not start any new wars. He campaigned on that. And now he's getting involved in Yemen. And it is a test run for Iran. He openly says so.
Well, on that front, let me play for you what Trump was promising when he was running for president. This is Trump not too long ago. This is May 2024.
I look at your policies, I see secure the borders, bring jobs back. I look at the Democrats and many Republicans, and it's foreign war and foreign expansion.
That's right.
What is that?
I think it's just a failed mentality. It's crazy. You can solve problems over a telephone. Instead, they start dropping bombs. I see recently they're dropping bombs all over Yemen. You don't have to do that. You can talk in such a way where they respect you and they listen to you.
Let's hear that one more time. He's talking about war, dropping bombs as being a failed mentality.
I think it's just a failed mentality. It's crazy. You can solve problems over a telephone. Instead, they start dropping bombs. I see recently they're dropping bombs all over Yemen. You don't have to do that. You can talk in such a way where they respect you and they listen to you.
So there you go. Trump, not too long ago, last year as he's running for president. War is a failed mentality. It's crazy. And you don't have to do that, especially in Yemen, where you can talk to people and try to resolve things diplomatically. Well, that Trump is no more, because now he's back in the White House and he's not listening to his own advice. He's listening to people like Mary Matelson and all the other fanatic Zionist neocons he has around him.
Yeah. So Donald Trump has launched Operation Genocide Guardian in Yemen. And here's what Donald Trump had to say. Let nobody be fooled. The hundreds of attacks being made by Houthi. Is he talking about Darius Rucker? The sinister mobsters and thugs based in Yemen who are hated by the Yemeni people. All emanate from and are created by Iran. And all U.S. media now has been instructed to declare that in any reference to the Houthis or Ansar Allah, Iran-backed movement. Any further attack or retaliation by the Houthis will be met with great force, and there is no guarantee that force will stop there. Here comes his warning to Iran. Iran has played the innocent victim of rogue terrorists from which they've lost control, but they haven't lost control. They're dictating every move, giving them weapons, supplying them with money, and highly sophisticated military equipment, and even so-called intelligence. Every shot fired by the Houthis will be looked upon from this point forward as being a shot fired from the weapons and leadership of Iran, and Iran will be held responsible and suffer those consequences, and those consequences will be dire. So it's all a warning to Iran. But what Trump leaves out, of course, is that his administration allowed and greenlit Israel's abrogation of the ceasefire and its slaughter in Gaza, even before it launched these massive strikes. It was suspending electricity and suspending aid, preventing aid from getting into Gaza to try to twist Hamas's arm. And the U.S. was allowing that to take place. So Ansar Allah in Sana'a, the Yemeni capital, declared that they would reimpose a blockade in the Red Sea, specifically and exclusively of Israeli shipping. So they weren't going to go after U.S. shipping. They weren't going to go after U.S. warships. They were just going to go after Israel. And Trump steps in to protect Israel from the one force seeking to enforce the ceasefire in Gaza and to pressure Israel to stop its genocide. The one force mounting one of the only principled humanitarian interventions in my lifetime. This is a war for Israel that Trump is waging.
And this notion that Iran controls the Houthis, aka Ansar Allah, where's the evidence for that? I've never seen any evidence to that effect. Certainly there's been some support. That's established. But this notion that Trump is putting forward that Iran controls Ansar Allah, aka the Houthis, that's a complete fabrication that I've never seen any evidence for at all.
No, I mean, they're the most independent of any of the members of the axis of resistance by far. And you can see that through my interview with Mohammed al-Bukhaiti, who is the spokesman for Ansar Allah, as he emphasizes that what they're doing with the blockade of the Red Sea and everything they're doing vis-a-vis Gaza is part of their ideology. It's part of their philosophy. It's rooted in their commitment to social justice and their vision of a world order in which the oppressed have a part to play and aren't just subjected to the rule of the so-called international community, which is dominated by the US and NATO. This is what they really believe in. So Iran doesn't have to tell them to do this. And honestly, I don't know if Iran would want this taking place. Iran is really focused on its own needs and objectives right now. So Trump is doing this on behalf of Israel, and it's clear what Israel wants. It wants what it's always wanted, which was to get the United States to fight its war against a country that it cannot attack alone, and to specifically take out Iran's nuclear sites. Israel can't do that without U.S. in-air refueling assistance, without the guidance systems the US provides for the bunker buster bombs. The US has to authorize it. That's where we're going. It's all because the real occupation of this country isn't from Venezuelan migrants. It's from Donald Trump's rich donors.